have a need to express myself. I don't think it matters whether it be in music or film or painting or drawing or even conversation. I think expression is something that kind of bursts out somehow. When Anna and I met at art school, the whole punk thing was erupting. I had never thought that I would play music, but then when we saw bands, and especially the Slits, that seemed to be a really dynamic and current way of expressing. It wasn't really through music, it was through grabbing an instrument and trying to do something with it. I'm not trying to be brilliant in a kind of technical way on an instrument. I'm just interested in what sounds it can make.
When we were at college, I really wanted the tutors to accept what we were doing musically as art, because it was accepted to do performance art, to do plinky-plonk music. They were really totally against it, and then I was thinking, well, okay, here we are at MoMA after all these years.
It's quite good to be not accepted and then accepted. That's perhaps why we're where we are today.
By that time of punks, I saw Patti Smith really early on. I just really loved television and the Talking Heads. All that was very inspiring, but it didn't make me think I can be in a band. What made me think that was seeing the English punk bands, because basically they couldn't really play that well, and it was all about, it was said, oh, you just need to know 3 chords, all you need is ideas. And that's how we just started. One day we were at the pub, and maybe you said it, oh, why don't we start a band? And I don't know how it happened, but we were just there and talking, and we ended up, yeah, okay, let's do that.
I'd chosen the bass because it only had 4 strings, but by the time we'd started the band, we'd been to our 100 nights at the Roxy Club and just been very swept up by what was going on. It was a great time for trying to express yourself in that medium. We're not really considered punk, we are post-punk, because that period of a year or 18 months was over. But it was really when the Riot Girl thing happened, it felt like that real surge of energy again. It really reinvigorated us with this idea that there were possibilities. You know, there's this idea that you know, politics and you know, somehow we could grab the world by the scruff of its neck and make a difference.
Step after step, a corridor of healing. The very first band was called Amy Carter, and it was with a bunch of feminist photographers, and we didn't really know what we were doing. The biggest band to inspire me at that point in '88 or '89 was a band called Mechanormal from Canada. Gene Smith and David Lester. And it was one of the first times that I was like, oh, you can mix your feminism with your art. When I first started playing music, it was a way for me to mix feminism with something that I loved, because I started in more of an activist capacity as a feminist, and I worked at a domestic violence rape relief shelter. Me and another woman started a teenage sexual assault support group. Being in a band was a way for me to advertise the support group. It was also a way to, you know, back then express all the frustration with being kind of a newly politicized young woman. It was really interesting that guys and women as well, when I first started kind of expressing my feminism through music, were like, well, that's not art, that's therapy. I'm really obsessed with the idea of feminist continuity and not reinventing the wheel every generation. I feel like capitalism really lends itself to this way of thinking where it's like the generation gap gets so over-exaggerated kind of as a way to create different markets, and that happens intellectually as well. A lot of my work is still about being somebody who celebrates like the feminism of the past and also keeps an eye on the future.
Let's get a split!
I spit on it!
Let's get a split!
And I shit on it!
Let's get a split!
And I shit on it!
I think about as well as the Slits did at their very first ever concert.